You tell me what type of training. This is a bolt action. I don't know if it's I find out the name of it, Rob. But look at this. Tell me, whoever shot a bolt action, look at this action that he's doing. Go ahead, Rob. Look at this. Boom, boom, boom. Reload. Dude, that's
smooth.
That guy has been trained.
He's been trained. There's no way you know that's an average guy.
That's not an average guy. And how, by the way, this guy and his father, they had 6 guns, well trained. It was on a mission. And by the way, this is a pattern.
Described the scene on Bondi Beach as an absolute massacre. Damien Ryan spoke with a Jewish man who survived the October 7 massacre.
The community have always feared something like this. In fact, I must remember there was one man that I spoke to, and I'm sure you'll see his interview tonight. He's the man with he's got blood on his head and he's got a bandage swaying around his head. He's the one with the wife and the 2 kids. He was in Israel and survived October 7th.
Oh, shut the fuck up.
I can't. Oh, there. The bloke on the bridge got a Jewish bloke who was there in October the 7th. How fucking could that be?
Spoke with a Jewish man who survived the October 7 massacre.
Oh, fuck.
No, it was the guy at the Charlie Kirk thing that put his hand up. He was at like another 4 different false flags. Dad, how are you going to go to sleep tonight?
Fucking, he was at October the 7th in fucking Israel and he got shot by Man Monis. Oh, there he is, Man Monis on the bridge.
Only for him to be injured in the chaos of today's shooting. And a warning, some viewers may find this interview confronting.
So we're just looking at the Jewish leaders over here hugging each other. I mean, what else can you do?
So people hit, so people fall to the ground. My only concern was where are my kids? Where are my kids? Where's my wife? Where's my family? I survived October 7th. I lived in Israel the last 13 years. We came here only 2 weeks ago to work with the Jewish community, to fight anti-Semitism, to fight this bloodthirsty, ravaging hatred.
That's why you're here.
That's why I'm here. You know, we've lived through worse. We're going to get through this, and we're going to get the bastards that did this.
Tell me, did you see the gunman?
I did. I saw at least one gunman firing. Looked like a shotgun firing randomly in all directions. I saw children falling to the floor. So elderly. I saw invalids. I saw people just. It was an absolute bloodbath. Blood gushing everywhere. October 7th. That's the last time I saw this. I never thought I would see this in Australia. Not in my lifetime.
You can almost predict within a percentile, I would say 100% certain that you're going to have a major terrorist attack in our country because of what they're letting into our country on the southern border.
And they're being put in these countries deliberately. And you're right, they're military age. Every bit of this is by design. It's not just to create an imbalance. This is a deliberate plant of a 5th column in all the Western nations. That's exactly what this is. It's you got to call a spade, and exactly, precisely what is needed to basically have the Western nations come together and declare war on the Middle East. It's exactly what is needed, and it's all by design.
That I covered today in great detail with investigative journalist Michael Yon to bring them into the country. The same invasion strategy that was used on Europe in the last 15 years. This is all official. And when you watch the congressional hearings, they never bring up State Department money funding over 70% of it. The UN funds 10%, Communist China funds on average 20%. So in a consortium of the US government and Communist China and the UN, they built these giant refugee centers and fly people and pay them to come and then stage and invade the United States.
Secret, the playbook's been known. But in order to get the Western world to absolutely rise up in arms and to take up that nationalist, take up that pride and all come together to fight a common enemy, it's going to take a catalyst. And Funky Prepper, that's what we're seeing right now. We're seeing the elitist prepare the catalyst. That's what all this is about. It's all about putting all these cells out. This isn't a condemnation of Islam. This isn't a condemnation of people from the Middle East. It's not. This is cultures, races, nationalities being used as pawns by elitists. Talking about sleeper cells, men of military age who have been put in all these Western nations. They have been put in. They have been put in London. They have been put in England. They have been put in Wales, in Cornwall. They have been put in Scotland. They have been put in Ireland. They have been put all over the United States. They have been put in Canada. Many are coming up through the southern border of Mexico as we speak right now. They have been put in Norway, Denmark, Sweden. They have been put in France, Italy. This is by design. What we are seeing is the introduction and financing of a fifth column that is being put there for a very definitive purpose. That purpose is going to be short-lived. It's going to happen. It's going to take off. It's going to be ubiquitous. It's going to involve the entire world because these cells have also been sent in China. These cells have been sent in India. And listen, this is not an attempt to take over. That's not what's going to happen here. Maybe the participants have been brainwashed into thinking that they're a part of a larger takeover type deal, but that's not. This is not what we have. And
if we go to war with Iran, guaranteed sleeper cells activate. Go ahead and let this new attack happen, and a massive jihadi attack in America could be the way to bring in martial law and cancel the election.
But also, it seemed to me like where he has been, that he could very well have been in the location coordinating some of the other stuff as well. We have now locked in, we've decided on 39 locations, time duration 36 hours, the date October 23 and 24, and the locations as well. He said London, Manchester, Paris, Barcelona, and Rotterdam. In my world, I was like, what on earth is that? You know, because to me it sounded like if either I completely misunderstand the whole thing and they're having like 39 coordinated meetings in these areas, or security drills, if that is the whole thing. So, but within the time duration of 36 hours, or if he is the bad boy that I believe he is, then what on earth are they planning? This was on October the 21st. They said we're going to go live October the 23rd, meaning that I stumbled across this before it had been activated. Whatever that was, case would be in strategic positions, whatever that meant. I would say government buildings so that they attack themselves, so that would justify whatever. Yeah, it would be like public places, train stations, bus stations, airports, water, knock out the internet, knock out the water supply, all of these things to make an absolute chaotic situation. And all the time being pointed towards the Al-Qaeda, ISIS, whatever boogeyman they want to point at.
Stadiums, they're going to attack colleges, they're going to attack synagogues, they're going to shoot up mass gatherings if they're given the order by Iran, if we go to war with Iran.
They're going to play out a multi-level, multi-state coordinated terrorist attack, and they're going to blame it on Iran.
Instead, Prime Minister, you replaced weakness with weakness and appeasement with more appeasement. Your government did nothing to stop the spread of anti-Semitism in Australia. You did nothing to curb the cancer cells that were growing inside your country. You took no action. You let the disease spread. And the result is the horrific attacks on Jews we saw today.
Just before we get into the video, I was going to post, and then I found this one that's been a talking point around these females that didn't go after the gunman. And also what is common with a lot of operations is changes in security. You'll see like with the RFK thing, all these different types of things that you'll have a change in security, or like in cases of like Port Arthur, the police are taken out of the area. Now there was a video that someone shot with a still of the camera with no emotion behind it, just filming it. He was filming for 12 minutes until there was any police response, and then Albanese's come out and said like congratulated the New South Wales police on their response. Now the day prior, I saw this selfie posted by these women on Victoria Police, and this is like brought up the whole question of DEI hire. Now what Jason was talking about this, was saying how the Christian revival was going to come into place, and it's not just about this, but like this is absolutely an element of it, is they were going to show all the stupid shit that the left have been doing, and this includes DEI hires. So with the more and more, the way that they're actually going to expose what this darker cult, especially on the left, has been doing, is through these events and pointing out the hypocrisies and all the things that have happened.
Expected suddenly convert to Christianity and start pushing it. I said this 3 years ago. I said this is the rise of the Christian Reich. And I also said in my predictions videos that at the same time you're going to see the controlled collapse of the leftist Democratic Party. And the way they're going to do this is to widely publish for the whole world all the absolute stupid, ridiculous, woke, hypocritical shit that they're doing. And that's exactly what's been happening. My predictions nailed it. It's become so prevalent in daily media that most people don't even know that the world was a very different place 3.5 years ago when I released these predictions videos. Totally different place, but it's all come to pass. Just like the knife stabbings, all these things, every bit of it has come to pass because this is a script. I'm not a prophet. I'm not a seer. I have no paranormal abilities. All I'm using is arithmetic and calendars and the events that are attached to individual years. And I'm showing the intrinsic patterning of events of the past and the future, and I'm nailing these predictions because it's a program. The book of Revelation is not prophecy. It is programming.
Too, as I didn't mention later in the video, that they'll always use like women, children, and people of community authority that, like in the Gladio operations, which were the false flags being done in Italy and parts of Europe in the 90s, they would actually kill a lot of priests. And here we've got the rabbi. But then also look at the shooter. You're always looking for, if it's a military operation, someone that's going to be well versed within marksmanship and shooting. Now look at the fucking gunman here.
Whoever shot a bolt action, look at this action that he's doing. Go ahead, Rob. Look at this. Boom, boom, boom. Reload. Dude, that's
smooth.
That guy has been trained.
He's been trained. There's no way that's an average guy.
That's not an average guy.
And we'll get on to the video. But the other part I wanted to say is when we're dealing with things like this, and this is what Ole's shown again too, that every event relates to the other. And what we're dealing here is we're dealing with fixed timelines. And if you come from the idea that I do, that we're living in a blueprinted and cyclic reality, that pointing out these events and actually stopping them, you can either stop them, if they're fixed, they have to play it to a certain extent. But if you can alter a timeline when something is set to take out on a certain date, and you can see that, which I'll show later in the video with the Charlie Kirk thing, how that was pointing out Hanukkah, that was a foreshadowing within the Charlie Kirk assassination that led up to this event. If anyone can point that out, you are scrambling a fixed timeline, and this is actually what the awakening is. This is what happened in 2016. There was something that completely went against the plan, and what happens within the quantum field is then everything must reshuffle within the reality to form a new reality. And this is happening constantly, but with big events like this, things that are meant to happen and impact on a global scale, as this one has, that's why they've chosen Bondi, then the impact can be huge. And what it actually does is it reshifts the quantum field and then starts to form into a new reality. So it's massive how much, like people say, why would you even bother pointing these things out? It's massive that we can even find the smallest thing or the smallest clue that would lead to pointing out something that's going to happen in a future event, that we're actually altering the quantum field, we're altering reality.
Rise now. So they're playing this off in Australia. We just had a new law introduced that the Roman salute or the Hitler salute has been banned, and it can be jail worthy. And this guy has done it out the front of the courthouse. So this is a group. This is a guy called Thomas Sewell, and he's got a so-called neo-Nazi group. But this group keeps being thrown out anytime they want to bring in new censorship. And it's almost like they're promoting this group so much in anticipation for a Muslim attack.
All right, so we're going to do a little bit of a look at the Bondi massacre, as they're calling it. And, I mean, those that have been following what I've been putting out the last couple of years. I've been speaking about this multi-state, multi-city terrorist attack. I can alert you to the other video, which I'll leave below if people want to look at that. I don't want to go over that again. But it very much seems on the card, just especially after we've seen this Amsterdam one. I just want to look at a few different things. Now, as far as the foreshadowing, I don't know if people saw, but I watched the Mike Burgess one at the Lowy Institute. And interesting that he did the talk at the Lowy Institute. We all know who Frank Lowy is. He was the co-owner of the Twin Towers in 9/11, a Hungarian Jew who made the insurance claim out of 9/11. So anyway, at that event, he wouldn't name any states, but he only named one. And
this threat is real. We believe there are at least 3 nations willing and capable of conducting lethal targeting here. It's entirely possible the regimes would try to hide their involvement by hiring criminal cutouts, as Iran did when directing its arson attacks, using all our powers to protect Australians from this threat. The countries that I didn't mention by name know who I'm talking about. We know who they are. By mentioning it publicly, I'm also putting them on notice that we know that some of you are prepared to do this, and we will do our damnedest to stop it before it happens.
I've been saying this since the inception of the Ukrainian war, even before the October 7th, that in this long game, now you need to look at different factions fighting out this war. Now, I don't need to go over that again. It's very obvious, even within Australia, you have people like Candace Owens being banned from Australia, and people go, oh, see, it's Jewish controlled. And then you'll have people like Netanyahu now calling like Australia like the most anti-Semitic place. And there's clearly an Islamo-communist tie to that. And I posted about this in a previous video about Michael Tazarian speaking about the creation of Islam by the Catholic Church and how all of this is actually going to bring forth the Christian revival. You got to look at who the benefactor of this is.
Happen if some evidence was discovered in the not too distant future proving that Islam is a total fraud. So sort of running along the lines that we've described. Archaeological, paleographical, I don't know. But some evidence is discovered to show you that there's really, that all the things that you know about the Quran, about Mecca, and even about Muhammad, right, is utterly bogus. And this is found by Muslim scholars, or at least acknowledged by them. Some evidence, this is not far-fetched, could be released, just like when the Dead Sea Scrolls and the Nag Hammadi libraries were discovered, and the Apocrypha were discovered by Christian, to shake the Christian world. What happens if finally somebody from within the Muslim world discovers that the whole thing of Islam is a 100% fraud? And Islam goes through a fucking plutonic meltdown. Do you think that the Muslim hordes will just become atheists when they're forced to throw down their religion? No. No, they won't. They will become Roman Catholics. Mark my words. As many of them do today when they get sick and tired of Islam. Right? As they do today. The first realm of conversion for a Muslim is not to become an atheist or a Protestant. It's to become a Roman Catholic. And we've just laid out a podcast here showing you that it was the Vatican that created Islam. Well, do you realize that these millions and millions and millions of Muslims, should this scenario happen, they will join the ranks of the Catholic Church? Now think for a minute. Do this thought experiment with me. All these migrants that have been pouring across the English Channel, that infest all the 4- and 5-star hotels, they get a big fat checks in their pockets, all the free cell phones, the free TVs, all the police support and the government support and the subsidies, right? That fill the dentist's office and the hospitals so that you and your children can't get fucking treatment, and all the rest of it, getting the houses while ordinary natives can't even find a roof over their head. All of this, it's brewing, as we know. countries in the West are getting sick of this. Yeah. But wait. What will be the West's reaction when these very same Muslims drop their belief in Islam and become converted to Roman Catholicism? What would be the reaction of the West? Would you still react to them in the same way? Or would you give them amnesty and let them stay?
Every time one of these things happens, you see more and more people turning to Christianity, and what is actually going to be turned into a type of political Christianity that Jason speaks about as the Christian Reich, the coming Christian Reich. And I actually see it eventually as the ending of all the three Abrahamic religions.
And they're doing it through what I call the Christian Reich. And this is what we're seeing. Over 3 years ago, I was telling my own community, hey, y'all watch out. You're going to start seeing signs of major celebrities that you would have never predicted. Talking heads, pundits, politicians. You're going to see a lot of people that you would have never expected suddenly convert to Christianity and start pushing it. I said this 3 years ago. I said this is the rise of the Christian Reich. And I also said in my predictions videos that at the same time, you're going to see the controlled collapse of the leftist Democratic Party. And the way they're going to do this is to widely publish for the whole world all the absolute stupid, ridiculous, woke, hypocritical shit that they're doing. But what I fear is that a lot of people who are still buying into that bullshit, a lot of people are going to find themselves with their backs against the wall, now supporting a movement that emerges out of that desperation when they realize things aren't going the way we wanted and the way we predicted and the way we were told and the Q drops. None of that's happening. However, I'm a Christian, so I see this developing over here, and I'm gonna get on board with that. And then I'm gonna claim, and now they're gonna start claiming these events are justification. That's what we knew we were heading toward this all along. Guys, many of you have made the mistake of thinking that I've been saying Christian right as if it is an opposite of left. That is not what's been coming out of my mouth. I have been warning you for 3 years about the rise of the Christian Reich, not right. Big difference. Christian Reich. The Christian Reich is going to be unlike anything that we have in living memory. I'm telling you guys, it will get dark. People will justify all kinds of hideous acts because they think they are allied to God. They are on God's side.
If we look at this one, Mike Burgess, he spoke about this and they raised the terror threat to like imminent. But I spoke on my Instagram earlier about the Charlie Kirk one. Now, this was like foreshadowing. And those that don't know Ole Demigard, which I've spoken about many times, I've done interviews with him, but I've been following his work for probably 15 or more years. And he talks about the global tour of terror and how they actually operate. And now this is a black ops like militia wing. So they're not actually necessarily like registered to like an intelligence agent. They work as cutouts. And what a cutout is you will have a certain job. Like he used to speak about a guy called Cody Snodgrass who was a black ops cutout. And what Cody Snodgrass did was he actually held a business as a gun dealer, a legitimate business, but he was on call for whenever black ops would need to be used, when they needed him to do black ops. And these can be specialists in bombing, sniping, whatever. And they're usually ex-military, but a lot of them go into private contracting, security, and all these kind of different things. And Cody Snodgrass, actually, he wrote his book because he was meant to do the Oklahoma City bombing, or he was meant to get framed for it like Timothy McVeigh, and he had actually turned down the job for $1 million. So this is what we're looking at when people go, oh, governments and stuff behind this. It's a fucking military, it's a small niche military wing of the intelligence agencies that work on the black budget. And this is why you've got all different things from like drug trafficking, money laundering, all these kind of things that goes into these black ops operations. So just so people know, when I'm talking about a military operation, this is exactly what's taking place, I would suggest. Now, you shouldn't jump to conclusions when the early stuff happens here, but like I've seen so many of these things. As far as like deaths and stuff like that go, whether they're legitimate deaths or fake deaths, we can't know that, especially not at this stage. I've got my indications, but we won't go there yet. It's a bit too early. You need to wait weeks for this kind of stuff to come out. But going to the Charlie Kirk thing, now, if I actually did a video speaking about this at the time, and the name Charlie Kirk actually, now there's always ritual involved in this. The name Charlie Kirk means Saviour of the Church. That's what his name meant. And he was positioned under the tent, right? And if you look at the UVU, the university in which he was shot, down the bottom, he was shot in the middle candle. And the middle candle is the beginning of Hanukkah when you light the menorah. So the whole thing is shaped like a menorah, and that's called the servant candle. So he was shot as the servant of the church. His name means servant of the church, and he was shot in the middle candle. Now, I've just heard that after Charlie Kirk died, they did candlelit vigils. Do you remember that? All around, everywhere. They did them here in Australia, and now they're talking about we need candlelit vigils here. And then on top of that, they have now positioned shoes at Bondi as a memorial. This is done all the time. I've done whole videos on this.
It's a little after 9:30 a.m. at Bondi this morning, and I just want to show you something which I think tells you a little bit about the community down here. These are some of the shoes and the towels that were left behind last night as people fled the beach, and as you can see, the Bondi lifeguards and others in the community have gone to the trouble of putting them together in pairs.
The word Shua, the word Holocaust in Hebrew actually is Shua. And it actually is a Masonic thing. You'll see this with certain deaths and stuff, and people are taking part. One shoe means that they are taking part within the ritual. Two is a homage to the sacred space. So if you'll see two shoes positioned next to a victim, which I haven't really seen that yet, that's a homage to that area of Bondi. And they chose Bondi. I'll get to Charlie Kirk in a minute. They choose a location. We already had the Bondi stabbings last year, so that was fresh in the mind, and they're calling it the Bondi Massacre. Just like they kept saying October 7th Massacre, Bondi Massacre, implying the same kind of thing, which is Muslim terrorists behind this, right? So they're breeding that in.
This is it was a bloodbath. It was an absolute massacre. Blood gushing everywhere. October 7th, that's the last time I saw this. I never thought I would see this in Australia, not in my lifetime.
What it does is with the classical conditioning, because you associate shoe with death. In the Holocaust, the shoe was used. You see all the images of dead people's shoes, supposedly. If you go to Budapest, like on the river there, they've got all these shoes, and they use it everywhere. Like when the Australian bushfires happened, they had a memorial for the firefighters that died, and they had shoes. They always use this, and it's how Pavlov used to do with the Pavlov's dog with the bell. So the bell and the dog would salivate, then and the food, then you remove the food, you just do the bell, and the conditioning of that the dog will eventually salivate. And in this case, shoes are used as a conditioning tool for fear. So you'll get a fear response, and this is when the people are in the fear response, that is when it's a marketing tactic. That's when you promote what the agenda is, and people are open to suggestion more. And they do this just through using the shoe. But shoe itself means Holocaust. So with the Charlie Kirk thing, he was shot there on the menorah. I actually think he was electrocuted now after the latest video I've seen. But anyway, he was shot there in the middle candle, the serving candle of the menorah. This, for me, this is classic. This is what they call demiguarding, which is looking for the clues. So they always put a clue in every major event for the upcoming event. And this is why I said this niche black ops group will go from location to location. You've got to keep it, if you want to, it's compartmentalization, but if you want to keep things under control, you don't have all these different groups working as paramilitias and stuff like that. And Ole speaks about this as what they used to do. They had the Stay Behind movement and the Gladio program in Europe after World War II. There was basically sleeper cells all throughout Europe that could be activated at any point if they were attacked by the Soviets. Now, they might have done this initially for good purposes, but this is what they've done everywhere else, right? So you've got this small group, but every single one is connected to the other. So the Charlie Kirk one is absolutely signaling here because it's done on the first day of Hanukkah. So I found that super, super interesting. And then obviously the talk, I put these clips of Jason Bashir at the start speaking about sleeper cells. It's been spoken about in the US Senate and the US Congress. Trump himself has said there's a 100% chance of a major terrorist attack inside the US. And then
You can almost predict within a percentile, I would say 100% certain, that you're going to have a major terrorist attack in our country because of what they're letting into our country on the southern border.
And then this goes to what when I was talking about Ole Demigard. I spoke to him a couple of years ago, and he come across this plot, this NATO plot in 2019 of a multi-city, multi-state attack. And I've been saying that for a long time, so I think it's still on the cards.
What he said, we are now locked in on 39 different locations. It would be London, Manchester, Paris, Barcelona, and Rotterdam, and Sweden. The time duration will be 36 hours, and the date will be October 23 and 24.
So you're thinking they're planning to do a massive.
I did not
simultaneous,
know.
Yeah.
I did not know, but when I put it together, it's also that I've over the years I've learned the lingo from many of these black ops, you know. So when somebody says something like that, and then who has been involved in at least Stockholm, but also it seemed to me like where he has been, that he could very well have been in the location coordinating some of the other stuff as well. We have now locked in. We've decided on 39 locations, time duration 36 hours, the date October 23 and 24, and the locations as well. He said London, Manchester, Paris, Barcelona, and Rotterdam. In my world, I was like, what on earth is that? You know, because to me it sounded like if either I completely misunderstand the whole thing and they're having like 39 coordinated meetings in these areas, or security drills, if that is the whole thing. So, but within the time duration of 36 hours, or if he is the bad boy that I believe he is, then what on earth are they planning? This was on October the 21st. They said we're going to go live October the 23rd, meaning that I stumbled across this before it had been activated, whatever that was. Case would be in strategic positions, whatever that meant. I would say government buildings so that they attack themselves, so that would justify whatever. Yeah, it would be like public places, train stations, bus stations, airports, water, knock out the internet, knock out the water supply, all of these things to make an absolute chaotic situation. And all the time being pointed towards the Al-Qaeda, ISIS, whatever boogeyman they want to point at, meaning that I stumbled across this before it had been activated, whatever that was. So
you went out doing a lot of interviews then, didn't you, at this time to get the word out?
This was exactly it, because first when I really carefully studied this whole thing, I felt, I think I'm onto something here. And if what I see here is correct, this could be bigger than 9/11. I mean, this could be, can you imagine 39 attacks within 36 hours? Do you know how much that is? Just imagine you being at home and suddenly you start hearing in major cities around Europe, boom, 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 boom.
And I think this actually might coincide with a some sort of internet blackout. Can you imagine one day you wake up in the morning and the power's out, all the power's out, the internet's out, can't contact anyone, don't know what's going on. Then you go down the street, you talk to a few people, no one's really worried. Then it goes through the night. You wake up the next day, the power's still out. There's no communication, there's no internet, you can't call anyone. You don't know what's going on in the world. This goes on for several days. People are starting to go, what the fuck's going on? Maybe emergency services start to come into town to keep the peace and stuff like that, because no one can buy or anything because everyone's connected to the internet, the water supplies. You can't even fill up your fuel at the service station. Even the click bars are connected to the internet, everything, right? Then eventually the power comes on. When the power comes on, I see this happening. When the power comes on, then what do you see? London, Paris, Munich, Amsterdam, New York, all these places all around the world had a Muslim terror attack over that period of time that the power's been out, right? And then all you're getting on the news, then like say the internet's fucking, this one digital ID and all this kind of stuff's going, because this is kind of where it's all leading to. And then to get back on, you need to do this, right? And then it's all a centralized control of what information's getting out. You don't know what's happening, what's real. All this stuff's just happened overnight. And so the other part I found also within the foreshadowing is Oprah and Lady Gaga. Now, Lady Gaga's she keeps coming back to Australia. Oprah's here. Now, we obviously know about Oprah with like the stuff that had happened in Lahaina in Hawaii, but I think she's kind of brought out for the ritual. I don't know. I'm just putting this out there as a possibility. She just visited Bondi a couple of days ago. Now, the only reason I suggest this, not just as a ritual that she's here, but I read Kathy O'Brien's book, Transformation of America, and I read that many years ago. And what she speaks about there was she was actually she was a MK Ultra sex slave, but also used as a drug runner and information sheriff for the CIA. And she was used as a dissociative asset. And they used a lot of different dissociative assets within there, especially within Hollywood and that. But what they, and Hollywood is full of different actresses and entertainment that actually work as intelligence assets, or even directly agents. Same with a lot of journalists, because they have access to politicians, different locations. They've got to move in lots of different cargo and stuff like that when they're going onto a set or whatever. So it can be used as cover. And this is what they do. Like, so you have a huge mass operation like Oprah or Lady Gaga. They're not checking all the cargo that's coming in. And this is how you can bring certain black ops military in, where, especially into these private airports, like in down in Victoria would be Avalon. I know in Wollongong they were using it for heroin trafficking and stuff in the 70s. And then you got places like the Port of Darwin, which is used for like drug smuggling from like the Golden Triangle and stuff, where all the meth comes into Australia, and also the Port of Perth, where it comes down from like Laos into Singapore and then into Perth. So what they do, they use like these big people like Lady Gaga or Oprah, because you can bring all these different things in. And this is what Ole speaks about, because like you're only seeing a couple of shooters. This is like a big team, right? You're dealing with shooters, possibly makeup artists, marketing teams, bomb specialists, media people, like media liaisons, all these different things. And you'll find on the ground, Ole always says, when you look for, especially like not just the person who is so supposedly committed the crime, and they already said he was known to the intelligence agencies. That's the first big one. Actually, I'll go through that. This is how to spot these things. I've written a few of them down. Location's very important. Now, you'll notice in Melbourne, they used to always happen around Burke Street. In London, they were always around Westminster. And then same with other different locations in Europe. But in Sydney, we obviously had the Martin Place one, which was close to media and then stuff there too. But now we're seeing two in Bondi within the last year. And the reason that they do this is, one, all you have to, you only got to control a certain precinct, right? So if you want to have a dirty cop or someone that's under your control, you might need the police commissioner, the head of police within that Bondi police, whatever they are there, and then the judiciary in which the person is going to be charged. Now, if it goes to a federal court crime, you would have to have them compromised. But if it's local, then you would have to have the judiciary on side there as well. Also, you would also need places like a library or a certain place to move things in and out. And then you'll have to cordon off the area for the next like certain amount of time, the trucks and whatever, because the crime itself is usually the cover-up. So location is very key. The other part of why they would choose Bondi is an internationally known area. It's like if you want to create, you have a world war to create world change. If you have a terrorist attack if you put it in a world-known destination, that is meant to impact globally. And then obviously you have the Jewish side of it too. A drill is the first thing you look for. I haven't found a drill yet. You look for media, military, and police especially within first responders, people that speak to the media. And obviously we have this guy, what's his name? Arsen Ostrowski. He's this Jewish guy that said he was at October 7 and at the Bondi. And even like Gronk said, this is basically impossible. And I think, what does he work for, the Australian Jewish envoy? Anyway, I'll find that and put that in. But he's obviously got connections to media. He's part of Jerusalem Post. And I saw a couple of others last night on Channel 9 where they were talking to different local radio celebrities and people in the media just happen to be on the ground at the time. That's always a thing. Known to the intelligence agents, they've already said that this guy was known to the intelligence agencies, the killer.
Just when like Israel has like completely lost the PR war, this takes place. It doesn't look like you don't have to look too far to like think what different intelligence and military ops might be involved in this one. But then also, like, when they're looking for like a solution and stuff like that, they haven't mentioned too much about like digital ID and that, but they're definitely talking about gun control. Now, Australia's already got strict gun control anyway, so why would you do it? I would think it's because it's meant to be implemented in other countries. It's almost more of a kind of test zone. But if you do look at like what happened in WA just recently, they went after the Desi Freeman thing. They started going after registered gun owners because of their political views on social.
The government is prepared to take whatever action is necessary. Included in that is the need for tougher gun laws. And this afternoon at 4 o'clock I will put on the agenda of the National Cabinet tougher gun laws, including limits on the number of guns that can be used or licensed by individuals. A review of licences over a period of time. People's circumstances change. People can be radicalised over a period of time. Licences should not be in perpetuity. And checks, of course, making sure that those checks and balances are in place as well. We will I'll take to National Cabinet this afternoon a proposal to empower agencies to examine what can be done in this area. Quite clearly, the Howard government's gun laws have made an enormous difference in Australia and are a proud moment of reform, quite rightly, achieved across the Parliament with bipartisan support.
And they were able to do that too. So this is why I think you've got to look at legislation and amendments, particularly into the counter-terrorism legislation. And this is why they always say that the shooter was known to ASIO, but they hadn't acted upon it. So if they were known to ASIO and they didn't get him, why? And this was the whole point, because they say, oh, we weren't able to get him because we've only got certain powers. So if you amend certain powers within the legislation, that's when they can start going after the so-called domestic terrorists. And I think that's the whole point of why they're bringing up guns, because they're going to target people, not because they're gun owners, but it will be because of their political views on social media.
We'll have looping footage, so they, again, you would have had, I mean, I've seen quite a bit of footage here, but as far as actually looking at the footage of the victims close up, there's only about 2 or 3 videos, and the ones that they've shown, they play on loop. The hero narrative. There's always a hero. Every single time, always a hero. And I don't know yet, but they're saying he's Muslim, but then I've seen other ones saying that he's a Christian too. I mean, just look at this video. Like, fuck me. Like, the killer doesn't seem to put up much of a fight against some guy. Like, if you're just popping off all these people and some guy just jumps on your back, like, he seemed to put up zero fight. Then gunman dead is usually a common one. I don't know if they're both dead yet. Muslim, obviously, so you have a terrorist motive here. Now, also the part with the whole divide between the races and the religions shit, this is obviously partially what it's about. But really, all the counterterrorism legislation, I've mentioned this for so long, the counterterrorism legislation, the Muslim terrorist is the Trojan horse. It is all meant to fall onto the domestic terrorists. That is what, and this is going to be massive for, like, we're in quite scary times, I would say, for some people, because the clampdown on what you can say with hate speech laws, digital ID and stuff like that, it's all going to crescendo into this, right? And I don't think this is going to be everlasting. This is what Jason speaks about too with the horsemen. If you look at this as a second horseman, just like COVID was, it would be a fast, rapid period in which it travels global. So a horseman is something that impacts globally. So it'll be rapid, and this is why I think there'll be a multi-state one. This is like kind of the trickle, a bit like how the fires were in Australia before COVID. But Yeah, the other one is like reports of shootings in other areas. Now, I've seen this. This is done all the time. A great example of this is the Las Vegas shooting, and there was reports of shootings all in different locations. That can be to like either scramble people trying to look at things. They intentionally put shit like this out all the time, but that was a big one that happened in Vegas. And then obviously, yeah, like secure the area. I already put that in. And with foreign national witnesses. Now, I know Bondi is obviously a very international kind of area. You got all the backpackers and stuff like that down there. But one of the victims I've already seen is French. Now, there was a French connection with the Bondi stabbings as well too. Do you remember the pole man? They were two French guys and they were offered like citizenship. Now, there's a French connection here, and I would look. This is the whole thing because Netanyahu's came out and slammed Albanese today too. And I said this from the start, like when Rabbi Shmuley came out to Australia last year and he's saying Australia is the cesspit of anti-Semitism. And these were after these marches were going ahead and the media deliberately didn't have a go at like these clear stage things like burning the Australian flag and flying the fucking ISIS flag and Hamas and all this kind of shit. This is like absolutely intentionally being put out there. And yeah, so like BB coming out and saying that, they're telling you all these, and then when Albo acknowledged last year that acknowledged the Palestinian state, this has put a target, at least for the story. Now,
left unchecked, as you were just saying, anti-Semitism leads to terrorism and violence targeting the innocent. Your government has come under criticism in claiming that it has effectively responded to the rise of anti-Semitism in Australia since October 7, 2023. In September, your government recognised a Palestinian state. Your ministers have attacked the Israeli government. Senior ministers refused to visit the sites of the October 7 massacres. And you created a special Islamophobia envoy alongside an anti-Semitism envoy. Have you taken the threat of anti-Semitism seriously? And can you guarantee the safety of Jewish Australians?
Yes, we have taken it seriously. And we've continued to act. We've continued to work with Jewish community leaders. We've continued to take all the advice from the security agencies to put in place special measures, and we'll continue to do so.
Instead, Prime Minister, you replaced weakness with weakness and appeasement with more appeasement. Your government did nothing to stop the spread of anti-Semitism in Australia. You did nothing to curb the cancer cells that were growing inside your country. You took no action. You let the disease spread. And the result is the horrific attacks on Jews we saw today.
Now, obviously, I don't fucking support Israel. That's not what this is about. And if people are playing into this fucking stupid, this divide, it's only what's right and wrong, okay? So like, if you're playing into this divide, and this is why I've always spoke about religion, this is actually going to begin to be the start of what is going to break down religious dogma. It's not going to be done for good purposes, not by the people that are doing it. They actually want to mold you into a homogenized religion between these Abrahamic religions and actually shut them down. This is what Michael Tazarian spoke about too, how Islam was actually created by the Catholic Church, and he expects that there is actually going to be a massive Muslim convert, and I could absolutely see this happening. But the more and more this occurs, the more you're going to push people over to Christianity. Do you remember when there was a synagogue attack that happened in Melbourne, that other fucking fake bullshit? And then BB tweeted to Albo, he said, this is a terrorist attack. They wouldn't declare it a terrorist attack. And then after he tweeted, he said, yes, this is a terrorist attack. And why they have to include terror is because when it's a terrorist attack, you are under counter-terrorism legislation. Now, I don't know how people fucking realise this shit. This is like when the whole Patriot Act came in and the NDAA in America. And what that was about too is you basically suspend all people's rights when you're using counter-terrorism legislation. And if you take into account now that they're putting even things within the hate speech laws, such as like gender-based violence, which is like, it can be verbal. So like this can be like misgendering people or like, you know, slamming transgenders and stuff online. You have fucking no rights. You can be held without charge under counter-terrorism legislation. Again, I got to stress this. The terrorism legislation was never for the Muslim terrorists. It was not about that. And if you go back to like the Strong City Summit in Melbourne in 2018, they will show you the rise of populism, and the domestic terrorists, the right-wing terrorists, is absolutely what they're after now too. Now you're going to see a huge uprising eventually, and people are going to push more and more to the nationalist approach. These marches are going to become bigger, and I think they're going to pip off certain people within these movements to make an example of. And the other part of it too, if you're looking at, like, again, the political Christianity side of it, Pauline Hanson and One Nation is now up to, I think, 18 to 19% of the vote they've done in recent polling, which is massive. Now Farage is like taking over with the Reform Party in the UK, and he's actually like favourite to win the next election. The more and more this continues to happen, the more and more Pauline Hanson and One Nation is eventually going to take more and more power within Australia. And you should see Pauline Hanson Taylor. It's actually pretty disgusting. She's absolutely using this for her political benefit. So anyway, the Demogarding now looking for a future event. If we're looking for a future event, I noted there was constant reference to this bridge. Albanese said he was actually there to unveil this bridge that they put up in Bondi, the one that he was shooting from. Now, I've heard him say harbour in reverse speech. I put this up. Have a listen to this.
Harbour. Yeah,
I was going to leave that one out again too, but he says harbour. I don't know, like, is that Sydney Harbour? Is it like harbouring something? I don't know. And there's all that what David Oates said, a lot of the times it's metaphor and sometimes even premonition. So I thought I'd just put that in there just in case, like, in the future that may mean something. And then he says, we fear the household. I don't know if anyone hears something different there, but we fear the household. So what's he saying? We fear, is it like an uprising from the population coming within the family? They fear the household. They fear the family. And he actually says something about like the dad is bad or the father is bad or something like that. I don't know if that was like kind of foreshadowing that was coming through within his subconscious, but the bridge is referenced there too. Now, the other one, Ole's pointed this out many times and been very accurate in picking upcoming events. And a lot of the times they will use it through a witness. Now, they use this one guy and he's wearing the Golden State Warriors shirt. He's one of the first people interviewed. And the Golden State Warriors is the Golden Gate Bridge on the front, right? So you've got a bridge there again.
And after we see the video about the attack...
He looks like a wussy now.
So you were also one of the people that ran for your life here in Bondi?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Not a very good crisis actor, this bloke. I can't understand it.
Golden State, that's the next place. Look, San Fran.
I was on the beach with my friend, and after we
Crisis actor,
walked to Bondi Pavilion, and in one of my...
So many of the different French people, again, like the French people, I think Paris is next. I think it's going to be London, Paris, Amsterdam, probably Rotterdam as well too, and I would say Barcelona. These are like the key, especially like Spain's been actually one of the strongest as far as what Israel's been doing. But this is the whole thing. Now, so, what was I going to say too? Anyway. So yeah, this is the whole thing. The main thing here too is emotional investment into this. Now, I'll cover this more as we see more come out. But we're going to enter into a period that could look a little bit scary. There's so many things about to take place, especially if you look at, it's been called by some that Trump is going to declare a national emergency on the summer solstice this year, on the winter solstice in America. And there's ritual purposes behind that, the whole dark to light. That is like the death and the rebirth of the sun after like 3 days. But this is all going to be to do with the 2020 election. Now, if people have looked into the 2020 election rigging, the 2020 election had players such as China, but then we're also looking at infiltration in America and also with Obama, and this is going to go back to the Muslim Brotherhood. Now, I know people are going to crack the shits and go, fucking, it's Israel, it's all Israel at the top. Mate, the game is so much bigger than Israel. Israel and the so-called Jews ain't running this fucking thing. They are the pawns that are put up at the front. And the Muslim Brotherhood ain't either. But this is being used for a political benefit, eventually for a much greater game. They're going to show the Islamo-communist infiltration into the Western governments, particularly Australia, Canada, Ireland, the UK, and parts of the US. And this goes all the way back to Huma Abedin, Obama, the Iranian nuclear deal, all these kind of things. And it'll go even back to, what's his name? Oh, fuck, Obama's mentor, whatever his fucking name was, I can't remember now. But they're going to show the communist infiltration, not coming from the Bolshevik Jew communists, but there's going to be a cover and a guise of the Muslim Brotherhood. This is what I think is going to happen. And we're going to actually see the exposure of the Western governments, not through Zionist infiltration, but through Islamo-communism. Now, I'm not saying the Zionists don't control them. I'm saying what will come out is the Islamo-communist infiltration. It's not going to be the Zionist infiltration. I think that will come, and that's going to come much later. And the whole point of it is, if you look at Jerusalem as the city of peace, right? It is called the city of peace. That's the etymology of Jerusalem. It is that shares all three, the quarters of the city share all the three religions, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. And the ritual eventually is going to take place there. And if you look at the way the whole way the universe works, and the hero's journey is a story of you are whole, you enter into separation, go through initiation, continue separation, and the journey back home in which you become whole again. The three religions are splintered. They're splintered belief systems. Also, like within the Christian faith, there's like 130,000 different Christian religions. I interrupted there. I think I was talking about they want to homogenize these religions because that is part of a return. Now, I don't think that return actually is within the self too, and this is what the whole Solomon's Temple is, and actually the rebuilding of the temple is the return home. And this is what all this does, this external kind of thing, is it plays out the story of the human being, and it plays out the story of universal compression on the surface level. Just like artificial intelligence is mirroring and masking human awakening, we'll also see this physically manifest in things, which will actually be a merger of these three different religions. But we're going to go through this massive process before anything like that kind of happens. So I don't want to go on too long with this. I think I'll kind of leave it here for now because I'm in a bit of a hurry, and I've actually got to finish my presentation for this weekend. I'm speaking at the Cosmic Consciousness event, but I'll be sure to probably to do some more on this as we kind of find out more. But look, at my first guess here too, it's a black ops operation, 100%. I don't need to see any more, but we're going to see massive crackdowns. I don't know if people saw the Luke Belk video. Maybe I'll put in a clip of that too and leave it under here. And he spoke about the Neptune-Saturn conjunction that's happening, I think, in February, March next year. And he said he calls this like the pop, where like whatever it might be. But, you know, the way we're looking geopolitically, economically and that, like things look quite dark. But look, I'm pumped for it. The other part too, I just want to point out, is like within Chinese astrology, we're moving into a horse year next year. And Australia was founded in 1901, but it was founded January 1st, 1901. So it actually was not founded in 1901. Under Chinese astrology, it was founded in 1900. And that actually makes it a rat year, 1900. Now, the enemy of the horse is the rats. We're seeing the little bleed through to what might be expected in Australia for next year. So I think it's going to be a very, very rough year for Australia, at least on that part. And that's actually all to do with like the whole 12-year cycle. So look, it's not everything Chinese astrology, but like it's a bit of a weird indicator that we're moving into the horse year in which Australia is the enemy of the horse. For 2026. So let's see. I'll cover this furthermore in detail at a later date, but I'm a bit limited for time at the moment. But maybe we might even do it like, I would actually like to do like a recorded Zoom and everyone can kind of jump on. I think that could be fun. I don't know how to do a live one, but I could do it and then just upload it later. So anyway, we'll I think we'll kind of leave it to that. But look, just watch for people that people that watch this are going to be aware of certain stuff. So what the main thing for you is, like, when this kind of stuff starts to kick off, is don't be the I told you so person. Just be the calming influence on your family and stuff like that, especially when there's going to be like divide over like racial and religious and divide and stuff like that. And this is why I've been harping on about religion for so long too, because if you identify as your religion, your culture, your race above all else, that's the whole point. You know, the whole separation and return. You're sitting in separation. You're never going to return until you see yourself as all that has been, never can be, as an infinite being, having an experience. Then you strip down all these bullshit labels, and people are going to turn to tribalism so much like that. And I can see, like, don't get pulled in. There's nothing wrong with being a nationalist or even with any of these identities, but know that you exist far beyond that, right, too. Don't get pulled into these religious divides and stuff like that. It's ridiculous. And of course, there's been way too many immigrants coming to Australia, but they are not the ones. They are the pawns in this fucking game, just as much as we are the pawns. And the moment that we all actually fucking suss this shit out, it's done. But look, it's leading towards a bigger conflict with Israel. Watch what Israel does. Watch what Trump does. Israel's like a cornered rat at the moment too. And I've said this many times too. Israel was created to be destroyed. That is its purpose. It's just like the Twin Towers. They were created to be destroyed. And any Jewish people that think they're superior or whatever, or they're the chosen people of that, they're going to have a reckoning. There is going to be a reckoning with those people that have that mindset. And what it actually is the belief in the divine right to rule. That's where that comes from. And that does not come from human beings. That belief system of the divine right to rule through bloodline, that is what the royal families have lived off forever. That does not come from human beings. That comes from the God matrix too. And that is from jealousy and mimicry. And that's a whole complex story, and I'm not going to go into that now too, but that is what it is. It is the divine right to rule. And that is fucking never going to end well for people that hold that belief system. But it's the same with any religious dogma. If you can't see past the dogma of your religion, you're not going to be able to survive this next 4-year period, because what this actually is, just like COVID was an initiation to understand sovereignty of the body, this is an initiation, and this is all going to be do with safety, your physical safety. And that's why you're seeing more men stand up now. COVID was a different thing because it's all about protecting the children and the sovereignty of the children's body. This is going to be about protecting the community. This is what you're going to see the men rise up, but that makes it a more scarier time too, especially for violence, because you're going to see a different aspect coming in there with the men. But once we get through this probably 3 to 4 year period, it will be a big initiation for a lot of people.
There, the bloke on the bridge got a Jewish bloke who was there in October the 7th. How fucking could that be? Oh, that's like finding the passport at 9/11. This is amateurish stuff. That is amateurish. It's extremely amateurish. Fucking the Muzzies have struck.
The Muzzies, are they coming to get you?
He was such a terrorist and a killer that some codger come along and took the gun off him. And then the terrorist, so astonished, stood there and didn't know what to do. And a bloke chucked a thong at him.
Survived October 7th.
Oh, shut the fuck up.
I can't. He fucking knows everything.
Surround us on every side with some